Jonathan asks, Seth has a blog but no other social media engagement. Under which conditions is this advisable?
I think it's advisable under several conditions. Condition number one, where you want...
When did you start your blog?
Really?
Yeah.
It was 89 as an email newsletter.
Yep.
So, do the math.
Yeah, no, it's a long time ago.
Then I met Joey Ito and switched it to TypePad.
Yes.
There was some blogging before that, but I can't find it. I don't know where it is.
Yep.
And then after I met Joey Ito, I've been doing it as relentlessly as I could. There was a period it was 5 blog posts a day, and then I realized it wasn't helping me or the reader, so now it's been 1 a day.
For a long
For a
time.
really long time.
Do you know how long?
Years and years. So if you want to develop, to get through the dip, to be the best at something, you're going to have to say no to a lot of things.
You love no.
No is super important.
Super important.
And so when Twitter came along, I said I could be pretty good at this because I'm early, but I would have to use my blogging time to be pretty good at this. So better.
How much time do you spend on a blog post, you think, on average? I mean, I'm sure they all vary.
Well, I spend 10 hours a day thinking about the next blog post. I
Right.
write a bunch, but you don't see most of them.
What, do you just like kill them?
Yeah. No.
Well, they stick around, right? You might bring them back. You might, like, I assume when you're spending 10 hours a day, in 4 weeks you may spend 10 hours and you're like, oh shit, and recall
Sure,
it back
all
and have that
connects, but
sentence, right?
that's why I think every human should have a blog, even if you don't put your name on it. Every day, write something that you're willing to put in the world, so that a week from now, and a month from now, and a year from now, you can look back at it and say, I said this, I predicted this.
Did you keep a journal as a youngster?
No, not at all.
Do you like writing? I know it's a funny question.
I like talking about ideas. I like helping change happen. There was a time in the middle of the 18 books when the thought of sitting down and going to this practice of writing a book really engaged me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather look someone in the eye and talk to them than...
What about public speaking? We've gotten to do a couple events together.
Love giving talks.
Yeah,
I hate flying there. I love being on stage. You're on and then you're off. There are rules. You can't bring on, a chimpanzee and a marching band.
Well, you can.
You're allowed to use slides. I have rules, right? You can use your slides, but you can't go beyond that. You can't throw things into the audience and stuff.
I like that.
But that's too many variables. So back to India's question.
Yes. What was that question?
So
Oh, yes.
So Steve Pressfield in his book, The War of Art, talks about the resistance. In Lynchpin, I talk about the lizard
Do you
brain.
read a lot?
Yeah, I do.
You read books?
Yeah.
Like how many books in a year will you read?
Well, I get 2 or 3 a day in the mail, and I read them until I get the joke, and then I stop. So that's 1,000.
Jesus.
But sometimes you don't need to read that many pages. Askgaryvee, did I mention that's on sale in 2 weeks? You can pre-order it now on Amazon. That book will probably take me more than 15 minutes to get the joke, because it's just rich and layered and a lifetime of insight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there are other books, like if the author did a good job, in 5 pages you get the point, you trust that the rest of it is proven, and now you can go on to the next thing.
It's cool.
I'm not good
What's
at
the last great
fiction
book you
literature.
read for you? What did you enjoy recently?
Well, fiction-wise, there's a book called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Okay.
Hysterical, brilliant, funny science fiction, and it's about you. You're in it.
Yes.
Well,
the
you're
whiskey?
not going to like the Devereaux character.
Is that who I am?
Yeah.
Is he handsome?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I love him.
that's not the best thing to say about him.
That's all I care.
There are parts of
Who
him
cares?
that I'm in there. It's like you don't want to go there. Anyway, and then there's a really great book about a novel about Marcel Duchamp's work called The Bride Who Was Stripped Bare by Her Bachelors Even.
That's the whole title?
Yeah. That's really juicy book.
Oh, India's fired up.
There you go. And then, but nonfiction-wise, I'm just constantly amazed at how generous authors are, because authors know you can't make a living writing books, but they do it anyway.
They want to be heard.
Anyway, we're still answering India's question. Are we running out of time?
Well,
I'm
it's not
sorry.
India's, it's Jonathan's.
Jonathan. Wait, so the punchline is this.
The punchline is when
Well,
you're fucking
so-
Seth Godin, you don't have
No,
to do it because you're a
wrong,
beast in 20
wrong,
years.
Wrong.
Okay.
Completely the opposite.
Of course.
Zig used to say you can be a meaneful, specific, or a
And
wandering.
Zach said when you're fucking Seth Godin, you can get away with it.
Has anyone ever walked out on the show?
Yes.
Because I could go second. I have something important to add here.
Go ahead,
You're
sir.
heckling me.
I'm sorry. I am. You know what? I'm just happy you're here.
He was my friend.
I'm sure. I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Zig used to say, you can be a meaningful, specific, or a wandering generality.
Interesting.
And the problem with most social media is you are not the customer, you are the product. It was optimized to make you anxious until you use it again. It was optimized to extract from you nervous energy, not productive output. So most people who fall into it are checking one last time, checking this, posting that, liking this. Why? To keep them from doing important work.
Which
Because
was watching television for a lot of people.
But wait,
Let's
TV.
Yeah, but hold
so
on.
now you have a chance.
Hold on. Here's where we're going to disagree a little bit. I mean, like, stick here for a second, India. Hold on. This thought that all of a sudden MySpace and Friendster and Facebook and Twitter came along and took us away from all this mass important work.
Who said that?
You did.
No. So let's start with Clay Shirky. Clay Shirky pointed out that Wikipedia got built on a decrease in television viewing, that the billion hours that were invested in building Wikipedia came from TV.
It could have come from reading.
No, he shows it. It's this great book. It came from TV.
He put a chip in everybody's head who...
Look.
Listen, we can't talk about this? What do you want me to just be like,
no,
okay, great.
No, you don't
Next
have to
question,
agree with
India.
me.
Well, I'm not agreeing with that.
But you can't deny this scholar's work without examining it and saying, wait,
Yes.
I challenge
Listen, by
his
the way,
methodology.
No, I think that's fair, and I think you're right about that. I do, no question do I believe an enormous amount of internet behavior has come at the behest of television.
So what my point is, television's dying because we're giving people more choices because the channels are breaking down, et cetera. Mass is going away. What do we want people to do with the time they're not spending watching Happy Days?
They're still watching a lot of TV, which is stunning to me.
I agree with you.
I know you know that.
But my argument is the people who are watching you and I talk, right? Bryce and Jonathan and the psychic who already knows what I'm about to say.
Yeah, they set that up.
Have the ability to make a dent in the universe.
100%.
We gave them a platform they can use to do it.
100%.
And they think that they're advancing their cause by using various social media networks the way that they are optimized to be used. And my argument is they're not.
I understand.
That I am super glad that the musicians of the 60s that went way out on an edge weren't seduced by just sitting there listening to Beach Boys records all day. They decided to make Bitches Brewer. They decided to make Slow Train Coming or whatever it is. They went outside the thing to say, this is my work. And the problem I have with the people who are just saying, me too, plus, plus, they think they're doing their job. They're not doing their job. They're hiding from their job. Their job is to create a body of work that earns them trust and attention.
Seth, real quick, you know, that's interesting, but let's go a little bit deeper here, because this is starting, I like this. Don't you believe, when you're saying plus plus and this, that, and the other thing, don't you believe that that is exactly mapping the people that did just, like, not everybody is going to make great bodies of work?
Not true.
Okay, go ahead.
You think they're born that way?
No.
The people, everyone who makes great work was born naked,
Yes.
unable to read,
Yes.
and pooping in their diapers.
Okay.
Right? Somewhere along the way, you make a decision, you make an investment, you go forward.
Okay.
And if we look, we see that it used to be that John Hammond would pick you and you would become a famous recording artist.
Yes,
And,
you know I believe
so
that.
the pickers are gone.
Yes.
And so now
the
number of people who are picking themselves keeps going up. All I'm saying, my only point in this case is this. If you find that at the end of the day, you could say, I did a really good job and my social media universe is clean and taken care of, and that's all you have to point to today, I don't think that's a good day.
And what I'm saying is, Sally Pants McGee, who has that to point to, in 1974, has that same thing to point
She can
to.
do better.
Oh, she has a chance to do better. So what you're saying is that everybody can go to Yankee Stadium today, hit the bat on table, and take a swing, which is different. No, hear me out.
No.
Yes.
Athletic endeavors are different.
Athletic endeavors are different than intellectual endeavors.
For sure.
Hold on. So what you're saying is everybody has the same capacity to learn.
No, what I'm
Okay.
saying is what we define as athletic endeavors is one axis. But I could say, for example, if you're a caregiver for a senior citizen who's struggling with Alzheimer's,
Yes.
you are capable of looking that person in the eye
Yes.
with empathy and affection in a way that changes them forever.
Tell me how you develop empathy. Tell me.
Well, now you're changing the topic. We
No,
can
I'm
have
not.
that conversation.
Because you just said, I can teach Andy how to be a caregiver. Andy can definitely be taught. Hold on, let me finish.
A lost cause.
Andy,
We're not talking about Andy right
Andy, you can teach to look in the eye. Check.
I can teach Andy
Yes.
to do. I can't ever teach him to hit a home run in Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
I can teach him to do something with his voice, his heart, his
See
soul.
what you did with Yankee Stadium? But hold on. You can't teach him to hit a home run in Yankee Stadium, but you can teach him to be the best version of a baseball player that he can be. In the same way that you can.
It has no economic utility.
Well, that's a whole different conversation.
Well, but that's the conversation I'm trying to have, but you keep interrupting.
No, not true. Because what's most interesting to me is there's no economic situation that Sally Pence McGee could be focusing her time on something else besides liking buttons on Facebook.
Of course there is. That's
Hear me
where
out.
we disagree.
Okay, well, hold on.
Sure.
Do you agree with me that Sally Pants McGee would probably likely in 1984 to be sitting and watching?
Course.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm saying nothing's changed. The places that people are deploying their energy have changed.
My point is that liking something in Instagram or Facebook is a way to hide from the productive thing she could be exposing herself, because the productive thing is scary.
You think she's gotten into a place where that makes her feel better, and that we've tricked people and people have tricked themselves to be a part of something versus when they sat on the couch?
No, when they sat on the couch, the entire culture was in on it, and it's similar. What I'm saying is, we didn't build the internet so that YouTube could show cat videos. We built the internet.
But aren't cat videos escapism for somebody, just like reading a good book is escapism for you? Seriously, I'm asking.
I know people around the world who have something they really need to escape from.
Okay.
The people who are watching this, much less.
Fine, I would argue and agree with you that people have much bigger headaches but the reality is that somebody who's watching this has their micro version of what they think they're escaping from. I sit here every day and yell and say, look, if you're a white male in America, Jesus Christ, you want to talk about winning the lottery? Right. You won. So I'm with you on that. Okay. What I'm fascinated by.
If it's entertaining, there's nothing wrong with it.
People think cats falling out of a tree are funny.
Just acknowledge you're entertaining yourself. You're not doing your job.
That's fine.
That's the only thing I'm trying to say.
But who gets to define what their job is?
But the question to India was,
yes.
when I'm doing my job,
yes.
why aren't I using the other forms of social media? The answer
is
to
that
quote
you
Neil,
defined what your job was for yourself.
What Neil Gaiman has said is the way he deals with writer's block, if he hasn't written a book and needs to, is he makes himself super bored. He eliminates all inputs, and so until he's so bored that the only way to entertain himself is to write.
So are you saying that one of the big KPIs for you of just staying to the blog was not getting all that stimulus and allowing you to create more?
Forcing me to say either I did nothing today or I made something worthwhile. That there are days when I will answer nothing but email.
Yeah.
And I feel horrible at the end of the day because I don't believe that's a productive
Let me tell you what the most interesting part of this last 4 or 5 minutes was for me. Seth's self-awareness for himself. And I think that to me is the most interesting part of what just happened. Like, to me, that speaks to really understanding yourself and positioning yourself in the best position to succeed based on what you think is important.
And all the successful contributors / artists I know are similar.
So for me, I need chaos. Like, I just walked here, apparently. I just walked into my office, they all laughed. It was so quiet. I started yelling at everybody that I can't get into my place without all the inputs and
so
the
that
chaos.
awareness is key.
It is.
But if we look at most of the people who are showing up in my box and your box, you're saying, what do I do, know what I do?
Yes.
They're copying patterns in social media without being aware of the fact.
Not just social media, though.
Well, that's the question. Without being aware that those patterns are sabotaging their business.
No, the question was for you, when is it right?
When is it right for them?
And I think that's right.
The answer is, what I'm saying is first, try nothing. See what happens if you are forced to level up, not by fitting in, but to level up by standing out, by saying something important, generous, unique.
You know what's funny? I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, it's one of the funniest things about how I go about things is I don't want to read anybody else's things. I don't consume anything else because it puts me in that. But really, not even. Like, I'm crazy that way. Like, I don't want to consume anything because I just like observing people in whatever format, the real world or the digital world, to be able to just do my thing because that's what makes me comfortable in analyzing. It's a little bit of like it's interesting.
So the way we built the Alt MBA, which is a school I run,
yes,
is it's 28 days and there's an enormous amount to do
Yes.
with your name on it in public,
Yes.
and commenting substantially with your name on it on other people's work. Cycle, repeat, 13, 14 assignments in 4 weeks.
Do some people struggle with that system? I mean,
Everyone does. That's what it's for.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
If I send you to ranger school,
Yep.
you're going to struggle.
Yep.
If I send you to tightrope circus school, you're going to struggle. That the learning is hard. That's why the dropout rate on online courses is 98%.
Is that true?
Yes. And the reason is because as soon as it gets hard, and it has to if you're going to learn something, you quit.
Well, that's why people are mad at watching my content, because I talk about hard work and they don't want to hear that. They want to see what the secret is.
Exactly.
It's just like doing Mike, Muscle Mike. You like needed someone to be like, you have to do this.
I needed, you know what's funny about that, India?
You're looking very fit.
Thank you, brother. Because that's what India is referring to. I needed to be accountable to somebody. I figured out my trigger in that game. I needed to be accountable to somebody else besides myself.
Exactly.